Hi, my name is Dr. Tom Madayag, and I am going to give you tips on apartment hunting. I know that one of the most stressful things that you have to experience as a new immigrant into this country is looking and finding for your home. And therefore, this particular podcast will give you tips on how to go about it. So, the first thing that you would like to consider when looking for an apartment is to consider the expense that you're going to incur in having an apartment. So, how much should you pay for an apartment rental or for housing for that matter? Well, financial experts recommend that you should not spend more than 20% of your take-home pay in rental, which means to say that if you have a $1,000 take-home pay, take 20% of that, and that would be your ideal rental budget. Realize that this computation has to be based on your take-home pay. It is the amount of money left after taxes and after deductions in your paycheck. So having that as the first basis of looking for the right apartment, you need to go now to the second step. The second step in finding an apartment is, of course, to decide on the location that you want to stay in. Now, most individuals prefer to stay very close to their workplace, but this should not limit you, or you should not limit yourself to that particular rule. In fact, a drive of around 15 to 20 minutes to work is not going to be cumbersome here in the United States. And the reason for that is we have good roads, and therefore traveling 15 to 20 minutes to work is not going to be a challenge at all. In looking for the best location, you not only have to consider, obviously, the workplace, but also the proximity to schools, particularly if you have children. You don't want to live very far away from the school. So the first step was to determine your budget. The second step is to determine the location. And now, the third step is, of course, to find the available apartments in that particular area and within the scope of your budget. So there are many applications in the internet that you can use to search for apartments that are specific to the area that you're looking at. But I also would like to suggest that you use another application or another search engine, and that is the use of Craigslist. Craigslist is going to be specific in neighborhoods. So, for example, if you're moving into Lubbock, Texas, you can look at Craigslist for Lubbock, Texas, and that will give you the options as far as apartment rentals are concerned. I also would like for you to take an opportunity to use your church. So if you're affiliated to a particular religion, you could also search in the internet the closest churches into the area that you're looking at and send them an email asking for their assistance in finding you an apartment to rent. The reason I'm saying that is here in the United States, there are private apartments. People convert parts of their home to be apartments, like, for example, the basement of a house or perhaps the garage of that particular house is going to be converted into apartments. And they generally are going to be cheaper, and therefore this would be a great find. In addition to that, they're most likely to give you a lot of discounts and a lot of assistance in getting settled into that apartment. This would be ideal, particularly if you're single or if you're married without any children, because obviously these private apartments usually are only one-bedroom apartments, and therefore this has to be considered. When looking for an apartment, be aware that here in the United States, children of certain ages may not share a bedroom, particularly if they're of different sexes. For example, You cannot expect a 13-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl to share the same bedroom. There are limitations, and therefore you have to be aware of those particular rules and regulations, and they're specific to cities or locations that you are going to encounter. In looking at the apartments, you also are going to have to make a decision not only as to the number of bedrooms that you wish to have, but also the number of bathrooms. Generally, bathrooms are described as full or half bathrooms. A full bathroom consists of a commode and, of course, the bathing or showering facility. If it is a 1/2 bath, that indicates that there is no bathing facility in that bathroom. It only has the commode and the washing facility. Make sure that you also ask questions or indicate your preferences relative to the following. Do you require a garage, for example? And if there is going to be fees associated with parking, not all apartments will have free parking facilities. So you have to make sure that you inquire about that, because parking spaces might be included in your rental and it could go upwards to around $100. So that's something that you would have to consider. You also want to make sure if the rental includes utilities. Most of the time, utilities are not included in the rental, so you would be responsible for paying for electricity, for water, and sewage, as well as garbage collection. I want to caution you that where I live, for example, my electric consumption in a 2-bedroom townhouse is less than $100 per month. So electricity here in the United States is very cheap. However, what is expensive is water and sewage and garbage. My water, sewage, and garbage fees are $165 per month. So this illustrates to you that this is higher than your electric bill. Be mindful also, there are requirements that are going to be imposed as far as renting is concerned. And one of those might be a credit score. Obviously, you do not have a credit score because you're a new arrival, and therefore you would have to be very clear with the landlord that you do not have a credit score. Not having a credit score doesn't necessarily mean to say that you cannot get an apartment, but there are some implications. An example of which is you might be required a higher deposit fee. When you are renting an apartment, be ready to pay 3 months in advance as far as your rental is concerned. So if your rent is $1,000 a month, be prepared to pay $3,000 on your arrival or moving in day. So that is the typical way in which rentals are usually done. You might want to ask whether or not the apartment is furnished or is it unfurnished, and what's the difference between the two. Unfurnished apartments usually will just have the basic facilities such as your refrigerator, your stove, and your microwave. Sometimes it might also include a washer and dryer, as well as a dishwasher. So if these are included, then you need to understand that the things that you need to furnish are going to be all the furnitures that you would require. Fully furnished apartments are apartments that include all the furnitures. They might also include, for example, the drapes or the curtains. But there is a disadvantage as far as renting a fully furnished apartment, in the sense that you do not have any choice as far as the furniture is going to be concerned. In addition to that, furnished apartments are usually going to be higher as far as rent is concerned. So that's a consideration that you need to remember. If the apartment does not have the washer and dryer, then you need to ask if there is a laundry room in the building itself. Because in the absence of a laundry room in the building itself, then you would have to bring your laundry to a laundry mat. And this would be something that is going to be inconvenient. You probably don't want to be sharing or using a washing machine that has been used by others. And it is going to be much more favorable to have washing facilities inside the apartment. Remembering that here in the United States, you cannot hang your laundry outside or on your windows because you will be fined. In the United States, we all use dryers to dry our clothes. We do not hang them, again, because of prohibitions. You also want to ask about pets. If you have a pet, you need to understand that there usually is an additional fee that is levied on a monthly basis as rental for your pets. In addition to that, some landlords only limit the size of the pets that you have. So usually they limit it to small pets. Big pets are usually not going to be allowed in the apartments. In addition to that, you also want to make sure that you check on your cell reception, because there are some areas, signals are going to be not very good, or sometimes the internet does not work in the area because the signals are covered by big buildings, for example. I encourage you to read the reviews of apartment complexes, realizing though that most of the reviews will be negative, but at least you can weigh them for what they are worth. It is very rare that individuals leave a review when they're satisfied, and that's the unfortunate thing. Most of the reviews are usually done by people who have complaints about the apartments. So I would not listen to all of the things that you read. You just have to be very careful in weighing them as far as its veracity or truthfulness is concerned. Can you negotiate as far as the rental is concerned? Well, there's nothing wrong with negotiating, but usually the rates are going to be fixed unless you're dealing with a private apartment. I would not advise for you to commit yourself to a rental property without viewing the property itself. Once you visit the apartment that you are intending to rent, make sure that you get pictures, or you take pictures of the apartment so that you have the condition of the apartment when you move in. This would be your evidence later on should they claim that you had damaged something in the apartment. Additionally, I would recommend having a renter's insurance here in the United States. Renter's insurance is going to be very affordable, and this actually protects not only the things that are inside the apartment, just in case something happens like a fire or a flood or burglary. It could also be a protection against suits, just in case somebody has an accident in your property. So those are the things that I can advise you to do as far as finding your first apartment here in the United States. I wish you well, and I hope that you will find a place that you can call your home soon. Thank you so much for participating in this podcast. My name again is Dr. Tom Madayag, and I hope to see you in future podcasts as well. Thank you so much.